All right, what's up, everybody? How's everybody doing? Gio Vacca here to talk about the discussion of rapport. Guys, I can't emphasize how vitally important it is to create rapport with a member. The reason being, guys, is because you want to build that connection. You want to build that trust. What I found out is that people don't honestly care how much you know until they know how much you care. You know, it's been said too that honestly the most effective listeners know that you first have to get to someone's heart, but in order to get there, you gotta ask for their hand first. That's the most important thing. Now, one of the biggest questions that a lot of people ask me is, what is the correct amount of rapport we're supposed to have with the client? And this is a tough question to ask because honestly, at the end of the day, you don't want to build too little rapport because now they're going to perceive us as just going in for the kill, going in for the close. Okay. So honestly, you can't build too much rapport though, because now we end up in what's called the friend zone. We can't score and end up in the end zone if we're in the friend zone. You can't close in the friend zone. So you have to find that happy median, that like 15, maybe 20 minutes of rapport to build that connection with them. Guys, we're in a business where there's a lot of sensitive information that we typically ask for at the end. You have to realize that the biggest asset that a salesperson has is that trust. It's that credibility. If we lack trust, we're not going to be able to gain any of that sensitive information that we need to fill out the application. So it really starts with you building that connection. And honestly, guys, never ever start your presentation. Don't let them force you or control the presentation if you haven't built enough rapport, because every rapport building question allows you to break down that barrier. It builds even more of a connection. You got to understand, guys, that rapport, the reason why it's so important is we're going to build that trust. We're going to build that relationship. Who do they buy from? Who do they trust? Their family. They trust people like their family. So you got to treat them like their family, and you have to actually genuinely care. You have to use what's called active listening. That just means when you say something like, hey guys, how long have you lived in the area? They say 10 years, you say, wow, 10 years. So you just repeat what they say and it shows that you're actively listening. Guys out there, have you ever talked to a girl and let's say you're trying to get their number at the end? And what happens is, let's say you're just asked them question after question after question. Now it looks like you're just grilling them and you're not really listening to that person that's sitting right in front of you. Or another example is, imagine this. Imagine you ask somebody's name and you instantly forget that name. Me personally, I have to say, Joe, Joseph, Joe. Okay, perfect. I think I got that down. Do you go by Joe or Joseph? Okay, perfect. So I have to mentally embed their name into my brain every single time to be able to memorize these things. So when you're getting the rapport from them, when you're actually asking them questions about themselves, because remember, people love talking about themselves, you need to start writing the things down if you need to. Wow, you have 4 kids and 20 grandkids? How did that happen? Holy moly. Okay, I tell you what, you got to tell me all their names. I'm surprised if you remember all their names. Now let's get to the birthdays. No, I'm kidding. I won't ask for all that. But that's amazing. You got the grandkids. That's what keeps you busy. You got to be able to gauge with them and show that you're listening. And if you have a bad memory like me, you got to be able to write the stuff down. Okay? So write the stuff down. Now, I want to go into the 5 rapport building questions. We should all know this, but let's just break this down because it has to be strategic. You can't go in there just saying random questions or asking things that don't apply to really getting us anywhere, okay? So the first rapport building question is, this is a nice home. How long have you lived here, okay? You have to ask that first because it's so vitally important to realize that that's their humble abode. That's their place that they feel comfortable at the end of the day. That's their security. That's their home. That's their place where they feel like they spend most of their time. That's where they sleep. That's where their family lives. We need to understand that we need to help them be able to build up their home again. I remember somebody came over to my place and I had an old school table and it was one of my buddies. And, you know, he comes over and he's like, man, that table is nice. I'm like, yeah, it's not bad. And he's like, no, seriously, this is strong. The way it's built, they don't build tables like this anymore. And I'm starting to think, like, yeah, you know what? That is a nice table, right? I start to get sold on the table I originally bought. And they have to be sold on something they originally bought for you to even try and protect that home at the end with the mortgage protection. That's why that's so important. There's a lot of psychology behind this, okay? The next one is family, right? So you want to ask them where their family lives, if they have a lot of family in the area, how many kids they have, how many grandkids they have. Man, if it's an older couple, spend a little bit more time with that couple. You can ask them how long they've been together. They love telling you the story of how long they've been together, how they met, about their grandkids. If you see awards on the wall, ask them about the awards they got from their grandkids. Their grandkids are like their pride and joy, okay? And what we're going to be able to do is fish for referrals when we have their family in our brains. So that's super important. Ask them if their parents are still around. I typically pre-qualify them based upon this question. So I ask, guys, are your parents still around? Oh, they are. How old are they? Wow, 80 and 87? Wow, okay, they still driving? I was going to say that'd be pretty scary if they were still driving, right? So I'll throw in these little jokes, and honestly, I ask them, I say, how are they doing? How are they doing health-wise? Wow. Have you ever got yourself checked out for that? You can literally pre-qualify them just based upon that question alone. Super important. Make sure you're asking that question, okay? Next question is about their work, okay? You want to ask them how long they've been in the union for. Guys, if they've been there for 30 years, you better believe that they know a couple people that they rub elbows with that you can fish out for catch-up program referrals. You can find out who their best friends are. Maybe they ride to work with somebody. Maybe they go to lunch with somebody. You can actually find the best referrals from somebody that they work with. And they're already part of the union, so they're able to get the union program. That's huge. You can catch them up. The next question is, what do you guys do for fun around here? Guys, we have a whole pandemic going on right now. So imagine you can ask them something like this. When everything opens back up, what is going to be the first thing that you guys do together as a family? Or what is something that you guys have been missing out on that you guys can't wait to do together? Or what have you guys been doing since the whole pandemic has been going on? Netflix, awesome. What are some good shows or good series that you guys have been watching together as a family? That's an easy way to build rapport and find some sort of commonality with that family, okay? So let's make sure we're utilizing the 5 rapport building questions, and you could even add a couple more, but make sure we at least use that 5, okay? So just to recap, guys, make sure that you ask for their heart before you even try and get their hand. You could even reverse that and say, ask for their hand before you get their heart, okay? People don't care how much you know until they know that you care, okay? So you have to be perceived as someone that really cares and actually wants to get to know them and find that connection, okay, guys? And the last thing is make sure that we have a good amount of rapport. We don't want to build too little rapport because then we're going to perceive, or they're going to perceive us as a salesperson. But also you don't want to build too much rapport and end up just kind of being like, hey, you know what, just come next week, come to that barbecue, and we'll enroll then, okay? So make sure we have that happy median and make sure we utilize this and don't let them control your presentation or move forward without building rapport. All right, guys, thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next time.